Hello and welcome to Watchworthy. It's your boy, Brother Ash.
And I'm Miss Christy.
And on today's episode of Watchworthy, we're going to be covering After Truth, Disinformation, and the Cost of Fake News. This is a 2020 documentary that came out on HBO. Still up there, so y'all go ahead and check it out.
Yeah.
It was so informative.
This one is just so timely. It's crazy that they filmed it, I guess, in 2019, 2020. Because now, 4 years later, 2024, it's hard because now we're living through some of the stuff they talked about.
Word. So. It was produced by this guy named Andrew Rossi. It features political operatives, journalists, researchers, people who had a lot of insight on some of the more recent political waves that have been happening in the country. We chose this documentary basically because the TikTok ban conversations that are going on right now. So we thought this would be interesting because they just really talked about how dangerous fake news on social media is.
Yeah, definitely.
So while you watch, especially to our Spotify listeners, what do you think is the biggest driver for fake news?
Trump.
Trump.
No,
Trump.
I don't know. First of all, this documentary is very good for average citizens to watch because I don't think the average citizen, this is even on their mind.
You know what I think it is? And I'm glad you said Trump. I think it's influencer culture.
Yes,
in my opinion. Because Trump is low-key one of the big...
He's just a big influencer.
He's a huge influencer. He's like an OG influencer. When you think about even from a kid, I didn't really know how how he had his money or why this guy's name was so important. But he's an influencer.
Yeah,
he's an influencer running for president. In my opinion,
I think it's definitely technology is advancing faster than our human brains can keep up with. So I think it might be technology.
That's a bar for you right there. All right, we'll
get into it because before 2024, back just 10 years ago in 2014, 2015, people weren't really thinking about misinformation like that. Mm-mm. There were a couple journalists, it was on their radar. They kind of noticed fake stories were getting more attention on BuzzFeed and stuff than regular stories. And so they were like, oh, that's not good. Let's look into that. So it was really Trump, speaking of, who coined fake news in 2017. That's the first instance people can pinpoint to when he first said it. So. And he was at a Trump rally and he was like, yeah, I don't like CNN either. They're fake news. And then it just caught wildfire.
Red flag number one. We like CNN.
Yeah, and guess what? Yeah, I was asking Brother Ash while watching this, who do you trust? What news outlets do y'all trust this day? CNN, NBC? I just know I shouldn't be listening to Fox News. That's as much
Fox
as I know.
Fox News is so crazy. Yeah. If you ever, as a black person, if you ever just watch Fox News sometimes, you be like, yo, what the fuck?
Yeah. So, I don't know, but basically he started calling any news outlet that reported on him negatively as fake news. And that's just not accurate. You can't just... That's like you said, that's a red flag because you can't just call somebody fake news because you don't like what they said.
Trump is crazy, yo.
Yeah, but
he's wild.
So it started to pop up around the summer of 2015. This is the first instance where we see that something is running amok in our information space, so to speak. The internet, the interwaves, whatever you want to call it. So there was this 8-week army training exercise that was supposed to take place in a small town in Texas called Jade Helm. That's it. That's all they said. We know that Texas has a bunch of big open land, so maybe they do run army exercises out there. But somehow, some way, conspiracies, probably just mad Texans, what's the army doing in my town, starting rumors in town, and then just conspiracies started bubbling up. And basically, there were conspiracies of martial law swirling about. And of course, this was Obama administration, so they're blaming Obama for everything.
They started wilding, yo.
They said Obama was setting up a big military operation in town, and people started speculating that there were military tunnels connecting all the Walmarts in Texas, and they were up to something. I don't know. We're laughing, but people out there really believe this stuff.
These people were literally going off the freaking rocker over this stuff. I can't even explain it. They was really just coming up with shit. They even had a
town hall, y'all.
Yeah, a whole
So Brother Ash said, it was a bit of hysteria in town, and it really was the first sign oh, this is how conspiracies get started. This is how conspiracies spread. And he said, they even had a town hall. So the army came to the town hall. They said, townspeople, we're just having a little army exercise training program in town. Nothing to see here. And I asked you, I said, what if the army did pop up in your town talking about we're going to be doing a training exercise? They're probably shooting guns and stuff at the park.
Honestly, I wouldn't care. Like, as long as it was like, all right, like, we coming and now you can't use this main road you use.
Right, they probably said this is going to be blocked off.
Yeah, I'll be like, all right, man, come on, what the fuck y'all doing? You feel me? But like, if they just over there, like, minding their business, I don't give a shit. Like,
yeah, and this is where we start, like you said, start getting to that influencer culture, because then we had what they called conscious YouTubers on the documentary. I guess that was a nice way of putting it.
That's their title.
Yeah.
Like, hello.
But that's a nice way of putting you are just a random guy who has a YouTube channel who's going to check out the scene. You're not an investigative journalist. You're not a police. You're not a detective.
It's so crazy seeing these like people like go on these little like undercover
literally
missions.
Like, guys, I'm at the scene right now.
Sit your ass down somewhere, bro.
The army's right behind me, guys. Like, okay. Just ridiculous. So all of this stuff starts spreading. And guess what? We have idiots at the top like Governor Greg Abbott who are just making it worse. The governor of Texas at the time, red flag.
Red flag.
The governor at the Texas at the time said at a Trump rally, like, they're not going to take our state. And, you know, Texas's economy is bigger than Russia.
Yo,
that is fake news. I don't know.
That sounds like the fucking Sarah. What's Sarah Palin saying? I can see Russia from my house.
I don't know where
y'all just saying
got
anything.
That information, but that is fake news.
Politicians be saying any old fucking thing, yo.
So that was the first story they kind of told in the documentary about like, oh, misinformation was not on our radar until, you know, this started bubbling up. And I hate to say it's all Trump's fault, but like 2015 is when he started, you know, running his campaign or whatever. And so someone in the documentary said, don't believe none of what you hear and only half of what you see. And I feel that now more than ever, like, anytime I told Brother Ash, this documentary was so compelling to me because even I've been scammed by fake news. Damn. My friend texted me a news link and I didn't even know if it was true or not. So that's when I had to realize, like, this is a bigger issue than we realized.
I remember one time I got scammed with fake news. Not scammed, but like I seen in COVID, in the middle of COVID, it was a bunch of tanks flying down the highway.
Yeah.
I text Miss Christie, I'm like, yo, babe, get in the house. Like, they sending troops.
The National Guard was not out there.
That video was like from 6 years ago, and it was a fucking military exercise. Like, that show you how like easily people can be swayed by fake news. So people are confusing, and like fake news is just like on some shit where like now like people are suffering for real. Like, so it's getting to the point where you think it's just like social media, but what's happening is like businesses and people are like getting harassed from the news because people are believing it. Mm-hmm. So the example we're gonna give that they covered in this documentary is something called Pizzagate. I had no idea about this.
I was wondering, why didn't I hear about this in the news? It's probably because 2015, I was in college. I was not paying attention to political news and stuff.
Also, just because the story like ended up falling on his face.
Yeah.
Like, for the people that was like fueling it, it was just so fucking stupid. So I feel like they probably did try to keep it off of people's.
And I would also like to point out that a lot of Pizzagate happened on Reddit, and I am not a Reddit user. Like,
I've never used Reddit.
I only use Reddit after I watch a crazy show and I want to see what other people are saying. That's pretty much it.
So it's just like a space you can talk?
It's a talk forum, and the problem is some people are using it for good and some people are using it for bad. And Brother Ash will tell you.
So boom, Comet Ping Pong. It's like a family friendly pizza joint. They got ping pong. It's like open space for kids to run around, and they also became like a cornerstone place for like people in the LGBTQ community. So like they could come there and feel safe and not and just have fun.
Yeah, the owner was gay himself, so he said that in the documentary. Yeah.
And the pizza apparently was really good. Like I was looking at, it,
pizza did look good.
Pizza did look good. So a lot of political folks in DC would like frequent this place, different for different reasons, just to go with their families, fundraisers, stuff like that. So it was like mad popular. It's not just like another, it had a lot of buzz to it. So the personal emails of John Podesta, right? He was a former White House chief of staff and a chair for Hillary Clinton in 2016. So he had his data compromised.
A data breach will get you.
So in these emails, there was mention of Comet Pizza because, like I said, they would do stuff there all the time. So somehow 23,000 theorists on Reddit became convinced that CP, whenever they see that in his emails, the letter CP, stood for comet or cheese pizza, meaning child porn.
Yeah, so basically these Reddit people thought that they were emailing about pizza and that was code for child porn. Red flag, please. Red flag.
Red flag. To see the different levels of caring, like I hope, that's why I tried to like say that slowly for y'all, because like,
basically,
whenever they seen CP, they thought it stood for cheese pizza, and that equaled child porn.
What we're witnessing here is people who clearly don't like the Hillary Clinton campaign, and so they're trying to find any little thing in the email. Remember when the emails were such a big deal? I remember, first of all, just a little caveat here. The Hillary Clinton versus Trump presidential election was my first time voting. Imagine, that sucks. You know, I didn't get to vote for Obama and all that stuff. That was my pick. That's who I had to choose from. And so when that happened, I realized as a college student, I was like, they are focusing too much on the emails. People just got so stuck on those emails and didn't vote for Hillary.
So a lot of people though, like a lot of people.
23,000 on Reddit alone.
They had people believing that Comet was a child sex trafficking ring and that the Democratic Party knew about this, John, and Hillary Clinton was in cahoots with it.
Yeah.
So
ridiculous.
Hate starts to boil. Blood is starting to boil between all these. What Drake say? Trigger fingers turn to Twitter fingers. You getting bodied by a piece of niggas. Like, nah.
But like you said, the Twitter fingers turned into people making real threats on these people's lives.
So now it's a misunderstanding or violent feelings about another group of people at this point, though. So now it's people like targeting the people at this family-friendly pizza establishment.
Yeah, somebody came in and harassed and filmed the manager, and he was like, "This is just a pizza shop. This is not a child porn
Like,
ring."
what are you talking about? Like there's children here. Like, what are you doing? Like,
well, the whole reason is because, like you said, it was a safe space for the LGBTQ community, and people, for some reason, we talked about this in a previous documentary.
Exactly.
People seem to, for some reason,
think that every gay guy molests children.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, and that's just like, okay.
A stigma.
Like,
that's a stigma in itself.
That's just homophobia.
Yeah.
Like, child molesters are child molesters. People like
people
like
who are gay
don't
don't automatically like
like
children. Like, what does that mean? Like,
so all this online hate and death threats start to come to the people in the restaurant, and platforms like 4chan.
Never heard of that before. So that's what made me realize if we've never heard of it.
It's a whole nother world out there.
Yeah, there's
like,
a whole nother dark web of hate just being spewed and all these platforms that are allowing it.
And I feel like that's why we didn't hear about it back then, because that's not our world.
Yeah, I'm not on 4chan.
There are lots of people that like are tuned into these different networks. So it became real when a white male drove up from North Carolina, y'all, to DC. And then he barged into the restaurant with an AR-15 to save the children. Red flag.
Oh my God.
You go to a family establishment to save children while children are inside.
With a gun, with an AR, assault rifle, whatever.
He also had a knife and a pistol on him as well. This pussy thought this was Call of Duty.
And babe, what happened when he didn't find the trafficked children at the Comet Pizza restaurant?
So
remember when he was flipping the tables and shit?
He's flipping tables, like moving shit out of his way. Like if it's a fucking picture on the wall, he's like, oh no, this has to be the secret entrance to the fucking child sex trafficking ring. So he's throwing shit off of the wall.
At that point, you knew that you fucked up.
And
you drove hours.
First of all, that's another red flag. Just for you being wrong, you fucking idiot.
Yeah.
Imagine you doing all of this. And I seen him too. Like he apparently was streaming it.
Yeah.
Like driving in the car on his way up there. So it's just like so unsettling. Like to watch that actually unfold was crazy. But this is an example of fake news to like kind of like pitch to get out there and help us untruth the truth.
Yeah. Like,
this is why people tap into fake news, because if I don't believe this guy and if I don't take matters into my own hands and be this type of vigilante, then this child sex trafficking ring will continue to happen.
That's not your job.
That's just not your
White man
job.
from North Carolina, it's not your job to go save the children in the sex trafficking ring by yourself with an assault rifle. That's the problem with this fake news stuff. It's empowering people who, I'm sorry, if you're dumb enough to fall for it, then you should not be having a weapon in your hands. Like,
but that's also a part of this social experiment we call America, because we give those people he has the right to purchase a firearm. And
the psychology exams are not enough.
The freedom of press, and they talked about this, the freedom of press and the freedom of speech kind of turns into like it really being hurtful. This time, nobody really got physically hurt. But
imagine if he started shooting off.
But the second example that we're going to talk about was a guy named Seth Rich. Seth Rich was 27, and he was working for the Democratic National Convention and was killed in the streets of D.C. in July of 2016.
You could just say, D.C. streets be kind of rough.
The Kid Boys got him, or, whatever. Like, my fault, that's not funny. But the Kid Boys are a real thing. So if you got a kid, be careful with your shit in D.C.
Yes.
Police said it was a botched robbery and didn't know for sure, right? So they are like, all right, like a DNC staffer getting killed didn't seem like a coincidence though, because of all of the turmoil that was going on with the Democratic Party
in
at the time.
2016.
Yeah. So conspiracy theories spun up the story that Hillary Clinton had him killed for being a whistleblower and sharing propaganda. Red flag?
Yes.
Red flag.
Yes. No, it wasn't propaganda. They claimed that he shared emails with WikiLeaks. So they thought that he was like a whistleblower. Either way, even if he did
wildin', y'all wildin'.
Why would you think Hillary Clinton went to go kill this intern? Like,
yo, you know what I think it is? I think it might be 50 Cent's fault. The power universe, like, you know what I mean?
Why are you blaming 50 Cent? He has nothing to do with this.
I'm being funny. Like, people maybe really think that, like, politics is just cutthroat and that Hillary Clinton sent somebody, like, so now you take, like, get out of this little magical world y'all
But the
live
problem
in.
is, babe, the fake news is, some of it is believable. That's why people are believing it. Like you just said, oh, how could you ever think Hillary Clinton would do that? But this is not the first time that came up for the Clintons. I told you about that dude in their circle who died back in the 90s, and people said that they had something to do with that too. So these rumors have been around forever, so like...
But they're only rumors, though. And if you don't have the means to, like, properly investigate it, and you're just basing it off of what you've seen somebody say on fucking, what is it called?
Fox News.
On 4chan, then, like, this is just stupidity to me, but it stems from, like, this system that we have as a government. So Fox News mobilized around the Seth Rich emails, and it started on Reddit and made its way all the way up to Sean Hannity, who was basically Trump's consultant.
Yeah.
And had a lot to do with, Trump, that's what I meant to say earlier, the Trump propaganda and stuff that was going on in that time. So, like, this guy is, like, basically...
It's like a pipeline.
Pushing this narrative, yeah. So, it's still no evidence that Seth was involved in this, and his brother says it's hurtful to be involved in this mess.
Imagine your brother dies, and Fox News is dragging his name talking about, well, the Clintons must have had him killed because he opened his mouth to WikiLeaks. Like, that has nothing to do with the fact that a 27-year-old man lost his life.
And scarcely addressing the fact that he lost his life to the family. Like, it's really just like a lot of kind of like...
No, actually, then they started dragging his brother into it.
Yeah, that's what I'm
talking
saying.
About his brother was also involved.
So, like, they never apologized to the family. They were never held accountable for the rumors that spread about Seth. So
the question is, like,
do we blame like Reddit for that? Do we blame Hannity? Like, do we blame the Republic Party for, like, kind of letting these things happen?
Everybody,
like,
everybody is at fault. From the first person who posted about it on Reddit, to the person who said, let's air this on Fox News, to the politician who's funding it behind Fox News. Everybody's at fault.
But, like, we used to commercial clickbait and, like, alternative right activists at the same time. But, like, there are also propagandists who, like, use commercial and political interests and, like, kind of use all of that stuff to just align people, like, get into different factions. And I feel like that's kind of like what's going on here. Like, that's
the point I'm making. Like, if you see volcano exploded in the middle of New York City, you know not to click on that. That sounds crazy.
Yeah.
You might be like, let me just see, and that's how you get yourself a spam bot or whatever.
Yeah, word.
But it's starting to be, like, hard to decipher and to discern.
Because real institutions are using fake news to push their own, whatever they're trying to push.
Great segue, babe, because I'm going to be talking about those Facebook ads. So let's fast forward to, like, 2017 now. No, I'm sorry, we're still in 2016 election. Mm-hmm. Facebook ads are used as propaganda in the 2016 election. If you don't agree with that by now, you're on the wrong podcast, because that's just a fact.
Yeah.
Russia was definitely involved, in my opinion. Okay, so Facebook trials.
Red
remember,
flag,
yeah,
by the
red
way.
flag
Yeah,
for
red
Russia.
flag,
Red
red
flag.
flag.
We haven't had one in a while. This whole episode was a red flag. Like the London's falling or whatever the song is. It feels like the world is on fire. And so go back a few years. Remember when Mark Zuckerberg and Facebook were on trial and everybody said that he looked like an AI robot himself sitting at the table? Because that man doesn't seem to have a soul. I'm sorry, but you can't have a soul if you're letting that stuff run on your platform. So the Facebook trials, those were really about privacy concerns. In fact, some people in the documentary said, y'all are focused on the wrong thing. Y'all over here are questioning Mark Zuckerberg about terms of service. Y'all need to be worried about fake news. That's a national emergency. We have a bunch of different national emergencies going on right now, okay?
If you haven't noticed, like, shit is on fire right now. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
so they were just saying in the documentary how, like, yes, tech is amazing. I'm a millennial, so I got the best of both worlds. I grew up with the toys and the Etch-a-Sketch and no internet to social media becoming a thing when I was like in high school.
So I can look at pictures of freaking mountains halfway across the world just by Googling.
And guess what? That's what it was intended for, right? But now people are using it in nefarious ways. Like, just some of remember the TikTok girl who was like doing the anime porn, whatever, like,
oh,
ice cream,
yeah. And it's like,
stuff like that. It's like, why is that even
so
going on?
many people watching this?
Yeah.
Like, what's going on?
So there's always going to be people who want to use it in hurtful, harmful ways, or like the example I just gave, they just want to experiment with it. They just want to try something freaky.
Yeah.
But either way, we have to get our arms around it, but we can't, because the internet it's too late. It's gone. And it's 2024. This thing
everybody
has
a platform now.
Yeah.
So you take the biggest asshole from your high school, right? Everybody hated him. He was
Facebook.
A jerk.
He's definitely on Facebook.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, he graduates and now he becomes an influencer.
Yeah.
And millions of people follow him to hear his opinions about politics, about just everyday life shit, like, and then how you should treat people, like civil rights. This is what we have now because social media. Yeah. Everybody has a fucking platform.
If you're watching this video or if you're listening, you're on YouTube, you're on Spotify.
Yeah.
What would we do without those platforms? I mean, I feel like we would be good. We would be holding a meeting or something. The whole TikTok ban, going back to that's making influencers realize, oh, I better have a non-digital platform.
I've been going crazy on TikToks. I'm like, if they take this shit away, hopefully
listen, post all you can while you can. Yeah. And so this begs the question, does the First Amendment protect all this fake news and all this hateful speech? And we have laws like you can't shout fire on a plane, but you can say hateful stuff on Facebook and Nazi this and whatever that. So I told Brother Ash we need to tear up the Constitution. What you think, babe?
Look, I think that it's just certain things about the Constitution that niggas had no idea we would have to deal with.
They did not fathom Instagram. And first of all, they didn't even know of a Mark Zuckerberg, let alone Mark Zuckerberg owning WhatsApp, Facebook, and Instagram.
I promise you, when they said you got the right to bear arms, nobody had any idea what the type of technology we have now with weapons, and nobody thought niggas was taking weapons to fucking movie theaters and churches. Like,
I'm sorry, I just thought of a dad joke. It was like a 3-legged bear, and they're like, damn, they're really cracking down on the Second Amendment. no right to bear arms.
Oh, damn.
Yeah, that was a bad dad joke.
That's fucked up.
So yeah, all of this to say it's only getting worse, and they brought up how some people are Sandy Hook deniers, and that really, really upset me, because anyone in America with half a brain knows that Sandy Hook was a terrible school shooting that took the lives of elementary students. So for people to say it was a government hoax, or the Parkland kids, they say that he's a crisis actor, to put out this kind of information, to put out this kind of fake news, it's not only hurtful, but it's dangerous, because now if people start paying for that kind of stuff to pop up on Google first, you're going to start changing reality with this fake news.
Yeah.
Because in 30 years from now, if somebody Googles Sandy Hook, the first thing that might come up is hoax instead of the actual tragic event that took place. So we really need to be careful about, y'all be like, I don't care if they try to take my information, whatever. I'm starting to realize what they can do with that information.
That's what I'm about to say. Wait till they start doing shit with your information.
Listen,
then you're gonna be like, oh.
As a millennial who's been on the internet for like 20 years, that makes me think they could probably clone me by now. I be joking all the time, like my FBI agent listening right now.
You joking? Shit. They probably our biggest fans on this podcast. All the shit we be talking about.
Please don't come for me, FBI. But yeah, so Mark Zuckerberg even said on a tech podcast one time, he was like, I'm Jewish and I'm chill with Holocaust deniers. Like they don't mean to lie.
Red flag. I hope his Jewish cousins whooped his ass when they seen him at the family reunion.
Because you can't just say Sandy Hook didn't happen and that makes it true. Like, this documentary really pointed out, like, what even is the truth? At the end of the day, the truth is only between the people who experienced it firsthand and God.
And this is why I got an F in philosophy in college. Was it?
Oh, you literally got an F?
I believe I did. I think I did. Because philosophy be like, yes, no such thing as truth. That's just perception for real.
It is.
But when you think about it, it be like, oh, shit, nigga, I guess that's true.
Yeah, when you start thinking too hard, you start getting in these rabbit holes, that's when you become a conspiracy theorist. I just try not to think about it too much. But we need to wake up if we don't want the world to be burning around us.
But then that's also the plan working, though, because if you don't think about it, you can become ignorant to things. So I probably was very ignorant. I was like, sign me up. I don't be reading the terms of service. They could just be trying to get in the app, yo. I agree. Fuck it.
No, literally, I be getting so mad over two-factor authentication. I'm like, that's for your own good.
Facts.
So the point is, if this is the creator of the platform and you're like, no, they're pretty chill in my book, you know that I believe that anybody who is spreading fake news, you know you're lying.
Absolutely.
You know it's fake.
Absolutely.
You know that it's not true. Unless they are so brainwashed, they start to believe it's true.
And that's what I was about to say. Brainwashed or stupid.
Yeah. So, we laugh like, oh my God, how could somebody be that stupid? But like, that's half America. Yeah. Clearly enough to vote that man into office. So,
yo, when you see Donald Trump in action, at least for me, like when I see him being himself, like at these rallies and shit, I just be like, yo, what is going on? Like, why does this fucking idiot have a microphone right now?
Why?
And why are people like cheering this motherfucker on? Like, what's going on here?
I would be embarrassed to wear that red hat. I don't know how y'all be wearing that big ass, ugly ass trucker hat.
Because they big fucking truckers.
Okay. Not too much on truckers. All right. Okay. But the point is, white men, specifically young white men in this case, they're the ones running Silicon Valley. There's not a lot of people who look like us in Silicon Valley starting up these apps. And so if you're someone like Mark Zuckerberg who you never felt danger in your life, you just walk around like a white man.
Yeah.
Why would you think about safety on your platform? And why would you build it into your platform? So that's why we need to hire more engineers who look like us in tech. So that's my plug for Black in Tech. But what I was saying the whole time while we were watching the documentary is they have a choice. You might not be the government, Mark Zuckerberg, but you have a choice about what goes on your platform. But it's all about the money. It's all about the ad dollars. They literally do not care. I could run an ad for foot fetishes on Facebook if I want to. Yeah. Because they're going to take my money. They claim now that they be, you know how you like will put in for a Facebook ad and they're like, we're